Hello and welcome. I'm Anand Naidu, sitting in for Riz Khan. Now that the Lisbon Treaty has finally been ratified, will the European Union begin to flex a stronger muscle in global affairs, but at the expense of the power of individual member states? This week, the Czech Republic became the 27th EU nation to sign the treaty, bringing to a close a reform process that began 8 years ago, when the Union consisted of only 15 members. The agreement is designed to streamline the EU and create more decision-making efficiency, a greater role for European and national parliaments, and increased European clarity on foreign affairs. A new EU president will soon be appointed to a 2.5-year term, a big change from the current 6-month revolving presidency. The foreign affairs portfolio will also be expanded and strengthened to increase the EU's ability to act quickly and effectively in world affairs. Today we ask, how will the newly approved Lisbon Treaty shape Europe's future relationships with the rest of the world? Remember, you can join our conversation with your questions and comments by sending an SMS or email. Now, joining me today to discuss Europe's future is Javier Solana, the European Union's High Representative for Common Foreign and Security Policy, and the Secretary General of both the Council of the European Union and the Western European Union. Previously, Mr. Solana also served as Secretary General of NATO. Mr. Solana, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Well, as I was saying, all the EU states have now ratified the Lisbon Treaty, the Czech Republic being the last one. It will come into effect on December 1st. From then on, what are the most significant changes that we can expect to take place?
I think there are very many. Some which will be noticeable internally, and others will be noticeable externally. Will be internally important changes on the manner in which decisions are taken, and externally it will be very, very important the fact that the representation of the European Union in the world will be simplified, will be more clear, will be more visible, will be better coordinated. In any case, it will be better for everybody, for the citizens of the European Union, and also for the role of the European Union in the world, therefore, for being a more important player at the international arena.
Let me ask you about one specific arena, and that is foreign policy. There has been some concern that under the terms of this new treaty, Brussels will take away too much power from national governments, will basically compromise the sovereignty of governments, and these governments will have to cede that power to Brussels. Could you give us some idea of to what extent EU member states will still be able to maintain their own foreign policies?
Well, as you know, the European Union has gone through a process of enlargement, as you have said in your introduction, from 15 members to 27. And at the same time, if we want to work properly, we have to also deepen the integration. And that is what the treaty does, to do more integration, and therefore to be able to speak with one voice. And it is true that member states will lose some of their competences, but they will be recuperated by the Union. But of course, it will be always elements of the collective life of the European Union that will be still taking the decision by majority, but it will be by unanimity. But that will be a very minor part of the infinite number of decisions that we have to take every day.
If you are able to speak with one voice from December 1st, to what extent do you believe you will be able to rival, say, the United States in having some leverage and having some influence on resolving some of the major foreign policy issues of today, things like Iran and the nuclear program, the Middle East and North Korea, things like that?
I don't think it's a question of rivaling. It's a question to being a more important actor and a more visible actor and a more effective actor with the United States and with others. It doesn't mean necessarily vis-a-vis the United States. It will be vis-a-vis everybody, with the Arab world, with other countries with whom we have very good relations, but it will be, no doubt, much easier to establish the common foreign policy to make this world better coordinated in a moment in which, without any doubt, with the process of globalization, we need some kind of global governance, and to that, without any doubt, these decisions of the European Union will be very fundamental.
Well, let me give you an example. For instance, the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Up to now, it's been Washington that's been playing the main role in trying to resolve that conflict. Europe has largely been absent. Will that change?
Well, allow me to disagree with you. I mean, I don't think Europe has been absent. You say that. I will not accept that because we have not been absent, I have not been absent. But it's true that it will be a much more effective manner of relating with others, being the United States, being Israel, being the Palestinian, being the Arab countries. It will be much easier to get a fluent relationship if the representation of the European Union is more clear for us and more clear for the third countries.
Now, you have been the foreign policy voice of the European Union for many years. As from December 1st, you will have a foreign minister. That's one of the new positions that's been created by this treaty. Will that foreign minister have a far stronger mandate from the member states when he goes about explaining EU foreign policy to other countries?
But it will have, as you have said, it will be somebody who will not be subject to a rotation of every 6 months of the presidency of the European Union. It will be permanent, the presidency, during a period of time, 2 years and a half, that could give or go up to 5.
But the foreign minister's position
will be permanent. That will be 5 years position, and it will be as I had had it, but with more competences and with more coordination, with better coordination with the other member states, and with the possibility of being more clear their voice, more visible their presence, that it has been in the past.
When one comes to the expansion of the EU, I mean, it's 27 member states right now. How big is too big for the European Union? Is there a limit?
Well, it's not a limit in the sense that we'll say here is the end today. Today we can say the number of candidates are 2, 3, 4, but we leave the possibility open of in the future be more. But I mean, it will be very difficult to say how many is going to be in the year 2000X. But we can say that at this point in time, there are candidates, are Croatia, Turkey, some other members of the Balkans probably in the future, but that doesn't mean that it will be the end. But it will be the end for a certain period of time. That is no doubt about that.
There are some countries, notably Britain, which is expressing concern about the powers that are being ceded to Brussels. In fact, the opposition leader in Britain, David Cameron of the Conservative Party, said just a short while ago that he will seek a return of some of the powers that have been given to Brussels from the European Union if he becomes Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. How much of a concern is that to the European Union?
Well, it's not a great concern at this point in time. The United Kingdom has been always a little bit more reluctant to share sovereignty with the other European Union member states. But I don't think that this, at the end of the day, will be a fundamental change. The world of today, the globalized world, needs a governance, and the global governance, without any doubt, one of the most important blocks will be a European Union which is more integrated, who can express in a much more clear manner, and that will be an asset, and not only for us. It will be an asset also for the rest of the countries of the world.
I want to bring another view to the table, and this is what a very influential think tank here in the United States called Stratfor, Strategic Forecast. They've just produced a report which says that the key motivation for the Lisbon Treaty is the realization by Europe's main powers, France and Germany, that as individual states, they do not matter on the world stage, but they do insofar as they can rule an entire continent. In other words, Germany and France will bring coherence to the decision-making process. Is that a valid judgment, that these two countries will basically be dominating Europe and bringing a unified response?
I don't think it's an objective evaluation of the reality, which is no doubt is that the first part of the statement is true, that nobody alone can be influential in that complicated world in which we are living. and therefore from pulling together sovereignty, from pulling together means, from pulling together actions, no doubt that collectively you can do more. But that doesn't mean that 1, 2, 3 countries are going to govern the European Union alone. It's an exercise of 27. It's no doubt the 27 are not the same size, they are not the same GDP, etc. And everybody will have the vote proportional to the dimension, economical and physical, that they are. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be controlled by 2 countries, no.
Mr. Solana, lots more to talk about. We have to take a break right now. More of our discussion in just a moment. We'll be right back.